So once you get driving in the Sorento, the first thing that hits you is that it does feel like a big car. Definitely feels bigger than something like a Skoda Kodiaq, so that's just something to be aware of. Now, visibility is actually really good. Because of that high seating position, we've got a lovely commanding view of the road ahead. The A-pillars are not as thick as I was expecting them to be, so I've not found myself looking around them at any junctions. The wing mirrors are of a really good size, and they don't give off much in the way of wind noise, which is an added bonus. And then looking over your shoulder, you do find that there's a bit of a unique design to the window in the C-pillar, but actually all-round visibility is really good. And then looking out the back of the Sorento, you find that it's a decent size rear window, so therefore rear visibility is really good as well. And with the fact that we've got things like 360-degree cameras, it means parking is an absolute doddle. And it's also a very comfortable and surprisingly refined car to be in as well. In terms of first impressions, this feels like a proper bear bus. I mean, you've seen the amount of space that's on here. You could easily get 5 adults in here with ease, and they'd all be very comfortable. So yeah, first impressions of the new Sorento are very positive. When it comes to trim levels in the Sorento range, there are 3 to choose from. The 2, the 3, and top of the range 4, which is what I've got here. But this actually isn't my trim level of choice. I actually recommend the 3 spec because that's the only one where you get the choice of both engines available, which is 1 petrol and 1 diesel. So speaking of the engines, with this 4 spec, I've got a 1.6 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder unit, which is also a mild hybrid. So when combined, it produces 226 brake horsepower, and that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. If you go for the diesel, it's a 2.2 litre turbocharged unit, producing 199 brake horsepower, and that goes through an 8-speed dual clutch transmission, or DCT as Kia like to call it. So that's my reason for picking the 3 spec, because at the moment you have got the choice of both petrol and diesel engines. And I will note that there is a plug-in on its way, and as you can see on the screen, it is compared with the mild hybrid, so you can see what the prices are like respectively. So yeah, that's my reason for going for the 3 spec. You've just got more engine choices, but if you want more kit, then by all means go for the 4. Now, as I mentioned, there's a 6-speed automatic transmission with the petrol engines, and for the most part it's okay, but it is a bit of an Achilles heel with the Sorento. You see, it is quite a hesitant gearbox, and if you're at slow speed and you're a little bit hesitant with your right foot, it's quite indecisive whether it wants to be in EV mode or if it wants to flip over and use the petrol engine. So a bit of advice is, if you want to go for the mild hybrid on the Sorento, is just be a little bit assertive with your right foot, and that way the car will know what to do in terms of selecting a gear or picking just EV mode. So that's just something to be aware of. But if you are hesitant with your right foot at slow speed, then yeah, it can almost feel like there's about a second delay in the car responding when you put your foot down. And I've noticed that on a couple of occasions, particularly when I first got the Sorento and started driving it. And then I realised, yep, if I'm a bit more assertive and put my foot down, then away it goes, and it does kind of take off quite nicely because you've got that 226 brake horsepower under your right foot, which is not too bad for this size of car and also this class of car. Of course, as I mentioned, if you want something that's a bit more economical and perfect for longer journeys, then the diesel is my engine of choice. But yeah, so what's the ride and handling like in the Sorento? Well, ride-wise, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. It's a very comfortable cruiser, and if you like to do a lot of motorway journeys, then it's actually a very relaxing ride. Now, I'm not on a motorway, I'm on an A road, which is a little bit uneven, and as you can see, I am kind of moving around a bit, and that's one of the drawbacks to this ride, is that it can feel a little unsettled when you're not on a nice, good, flat surface. But it's still very comfortable. The seats are very comfortable, they hold me in place, so it actually feels not too bad going over these bumps and imperfections. Now, of course, if you go over a big pothole or manhole cover, it does boom and vibrate into the cabin, but then again, we have got 19-inch alloys on this 4 spec, so it would be interesting to see what it's like with the 2 spec where you got smaller 17-inch alloy wheels. When it comes to refinement levels in the Sorento, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. Again, driving on the motorway and just cruising around on an A road is absolutely fine. There's not a huge amount of tyre roar, but it does come into the cabin if you drive on a poor road surface, and there's not a huge amount of wind noise coming from the wing mirrors or the A-pillar. So again, that just adds to that really nice, comfortable cruising environment. However, if you do need to put your foot down, that's when you do get a bit of engine noise coming into the cabin, and if I do put my foot down, it's actually not the nicest of engine noises considering it's a petrol. It actually feels quite diesel-like in the way it sounds, so that was something I was quite surprised at. But when you have it kind of settle down and it's in conjunction with the mild hybrid system, it then kind of calms down and then becomes again that nice, comfortable and refined cruiser. So I am pleasantly surprised by that. So yeah, refinement levels in the Sorento, again, this being a big bear bus, I'm really impressed with. Now, when it comes to economy, Kia say on a combined cycle, this 4-spec should get around about 38 miles per gallon. Now, I reset the trip computer when I went on this driving part of the review, and I can tell you now, with a combination of A, B and main roads, I've actually been averaging 43.9 mpg, so we can actually round that up to 44. So if you do a lot of town driving and you're not really on the main road that often, then the mild hybrid is going to be absolutely perfect for you. Now, when it comes to the Sorento's handling, you can easily tell it's been set for driving ease rather than sporty precision. And as I chuck it into this corner, ooh, you can just hear stuff flying about behind me, but also you can start to feel the Sorento understeer under that weight and lean. Don't forget, this weighs just over 2 tons. So when you kind of drive the Sorento normally, it's absolutely fine. And as I said, it's been set up for ease of use. So the steering is nice and light, but it doesn't feel completely detached from the car itself. It does mean that parking is an absolute doddle, especially when combined with that 360-degree camera and parking sensors. And if you do chuck it into the corners with a bit of exuberance, you're not going to get the rewards you're expecting. This is no Seat Tarraco or Seat Ateca. This is a big, comfortable bus here. So that's definitely something to be aware of. And if you do want something that's going to reward you when you chuck it into the corners, then I do recommend, as I said, the Seat Tarraco, because that's going to have a more sporty edge to its handling. So yeah, handling wise, as long as you drive it in a nice, calm, comfortable manner, it will reward you. Just don't expect it to be a sporty SUV, because it's not that kind of car. With cars nowadays, you do get your various driving modes, and the Sorento is no exception, and I do like the way it has been set up. So by default, it will go into eco mode, so you do get that nice combination of EV mode and engine cutting in when it is needed. And then you've also got sport, and you have got smart, and it does change the dials. But if you press the drive mode select, it then goes into terrain, and you get the choice of snow, mud and sand. Now I'm going to put it into mud, so that's going to activate the all-wheel drive system, and it does mean that you can go off-road, and it automatically engages the hill descent control. Now this is by no means a Land Rover Discovery Sport. If you want a more dedicated off-roader, then that's the car to go for. But Kia do kind of look at this and insist that you can perhaps go to a festival, you can go to the beach and enjoy your day out. So that is something which is really handy and useful when you're driving your Sorento. Now the Sorento is Kia's flagship car here in the UK, so as a result it's packed full of the latest safety kit and technology. And one of the bits of kit I really love is the blind spot cameras. So we've got blind spot monitoring as standard, but with the cameras, when you indicate, for example, if you want to change lanes on the motorway or turn a corner like what I'm doing now, you actually get a little display in the dial, and it's a screen from a camera mounted in the wing mirror. And that is really handy when you're driving on the motorway, and also it's very handy when I've been driving in reverse and I need to see what's round a corner and just see where I'm going. So that's actually a really nifty bit of kit, and it is also on other Hyundais as well, because of course they're going to share that technology. But that was just a really cool and useful feature, and I definitely want to see it more and more on other Kia and Hyundai products. So that's just a little thing that stood out whilst I've had this Sorento for review. So with my time in the Sorento, have there been any little niggles or annoyances I need to let you guys know about? Well, the first thing is the safety systems. They are quite sensitive, so if you do just stray over the line whilst you're driving, you are going to get a vibration and bong coming from the car telling you to straighten up and keep in your lane. But apart from that, there is the major bugbear I have with Kia and Hyundai cars, and if you've watched any of my reviews of their cars, then you'll know exactly what I'm about to say. The fact that the volume switch on the steering wheel is correct, but the track select goes the other way. It should be up for skipping the track and back down for going back a track, but no, it's the other way round. I mean, the volume is right, it goes up for louder, down for quieter, but they just can't get it the right way for the track select. It's a tiny little bugbear, but it always annoys me when I get one of these cars. But other than that, no, I've been really hugely impressed with the Sorento in terms of just the kit levels, the ride quality, the comfort. I've been hugely impressed by it, and not to mention the space as well. So yeah, I think it's time we kind of move on to the conclusion. So what are my thoughts on the new Kia Sorento? Well, I asked the question at the beginning that could this Sorento be seen as an alternative to the Land Rover Discovery Sport and as a budget alternative to the likes of an Audi Q7 or a Volvo XC90? And the simple answer is this: yes, it can. Because it's got the space, it's got the tech, and it actually drives pretty well. Now, yes, we have got the build quality issues with the center console, and we have got that slightly hesitant gearbox, but all in all, it is actually a really good, big 7-seater SUV. However, we do have a problem, and that's the fact of, if you're looking at a Land Rover, a Volvo, and an Audi for your next car, you're not really going to be looking at a Kia. You're going to see the Kia as more of a consumable brand like Skoda or Peugeot. But the Sorento is priced above those two brands. So it kind of leaves the Sorento in this limbo area where it's too expensive for those looking at a Kodiaq and a 5008, and it's not premium enough for an Audi or a Volvo owner. Because unfortunately, they're going to be a bit badge snobbish when it comes to buying a car like this. And that's a real shame, because this is a genuine contender against them. As I said, yes, it has got its flaws with build quality in the gearbox, but other than that, it's got the tech, it's got the connectivity, and it drives pretty good as well, which is a real shame. And there's another thing as well, especially when comparing it to the Discovery Sport, and that comes down to quality. And I don't mean perceived quality, because the Land Rover does beat the Sorento. I mean actual quality, because Land Rover don't exactly have a reputation for reliability, but Kia do. And they've also got that 7-year warranty, which is an added bonus. So, in terms of kind of conclusion, this is a really good 7-seater SUV. I'm just genuinely worried that no one's going to be selecting it or looking at it as the next car, because it's either going to be too expensive for them or it's going to be too cheap for them. And that is a real shame, because I do love this Sorento. It's a genuine bear bus, in my opinion. But yeah, the new Kia Sorento, it's a really good 7-seater SUV. I'm just afraid that no one's going to buy it.